Proxeeus has gone down the rabbit hole of night terrors and madness. In his own words, this album is a cathartic tale dealing with one's general place in the world, living with anguish, mistrust, and half-truths. Well, shit, fam. Those are all of my favourite things. One listen to the ambient down-tempo stuff he's been producing lately, and one look at the amazingly drawn cover art of either a Leshy from popular Netflix program The Witcher, or a Shub-Niggurath cosmic monster will give you an idea of what to expect in Proxeeus' latest album, Perversion And Insanity. But those ideas will most likely be half-formed and incorrect. You gotta just listen. For safe listening, I recommend a straitjacket, electrolytes, some Valiums, or meth. Lots of meth. It's an introspective look into ourselves, but not the kind of introspection you learn and grow into a better person from. No. It's more the kind of introspection that confirms what you already feared, that your mind is dark and deep enough to handle the bubbling insanity of a certifiably evil and outright terrifying artist on the internet, who also likes to share cute cat memes on Facebook. If you enjoy this, then you're probably a sick, twisted, demonic Satan worshipper, abandoned by God the moment you were born, and yeah, you probably should be on several intergovernmental watch lists, you sick fuck. Track 1. Okay. Does anybody want to come up here and explain to me what the fuck is going on with this track?
I'll come up and explain what's going on.
Alright, well, what this track does is it's complicated, but the sounds go up and then they come down, and they kind of go across the whole spectrum, across kind of everything, and there are some shimmies that do some of that, and everything kind of just fits and does its thing. Yeah. You son of a bitch, you did it. I did it. You did it. Oh my god, I did it. You did it. I really did it. Alright. Track 2. Ooh-wee. I think I'm gonna need to take some meds. And 1 of these. 2 of these. Oh fuck. I was meant to take none of these and 6 of these. Alright. I'm ready. Proxeeus seems to have figured out how to fuse his petrifyingly dark ambient with his goer. Flipped that shit around, sped that shit up, and smashed it on his head. A big warm kick and nightmarishly bright lead finished the first half off. This guy is clearly a sicko. The track slaps harder than my nurses at the psych ward and makes me want to take up smoking. The last 2 acts don't give it to you all at once, but tease you before coming back to show you what it's capable of. A grand finale written oh so perfectly. Jerome knows that the perfect horror is restrained, hidden, always looming with its threat of actualization, and when you finally get to see it, it's more grotesque and otherworldly than you could have possibly imagined. Jerome writes this into his second last and final act like a serious fucking composer. Thanks for the bad habits, you monster.
Track 3.
Everything seems kind of faster, but progresses more casually, which creates a trippy juxtaposition. The ghostly voices from the deep that rise up at certain points seem to quiver and dance as if he's individually composing them along with the rest of the track. Just a little thing, but it's all about the little things. And all of the other things, which are sure to induce anxiety in all of the girlfriends of the world if you're crazy enough to play this for them, you psychopathic fucks! Some tracks take you to beautiful places like into the deep space nebulas of the cosmos, or onto the golden beaches of Anjuna. And other tracks, well, Well, they take you to the manufacturing factory plants, operated by the Deep Ones, as they smelt their ancient metals and hammer their incomprehensibly demonic scriptures into unusually hard stone that's colder than stone has any business been, while forcing you to come to terms with the deep turmoil of your humanity that you spend the majority of your life trying to ignore. There's no real need to guess which category Shub-Niggurath falls into.
Track 4.
The track progresses slower, with seemingly less really pumping towards you, but that gives it more room to get extra spooky and crescend into a finale of the Dark Young's demented lost voices, as the final ritual is done to summon the Black Goat of the Woods. If this track isn't enough to put Jerome into the good graces of that big slimy bitch, then I don't know what will, quite frankly. I hope he likes having goat hooves, because after the wandering creep of this track and its squelching penultimate goat dick mating call, that's what he's gonna have.
Track 5.
Track 5 is scarier than an old porcelain doll called Fiona. I'm gonna need more meds. The track uses more of the vocal samples that I've been enjoying throughout the album. The amount of books and movies of a particular kind that you have to engage with to get this many samples is enough to form its own kind of madness. But to spend hours crafting it into track after track is a new kind of crazy. Mad genius crazy. The guy somehow still manages to work groovy rhythms and harmonies of deranged screams into his dark twisted tale. I do, however, take issue with the premise that if religion were true, its followers would feel no need to bludgeon their young into an artificial conformity, as I just don't think it takes into account all of the joy and fun that has traditionally come from us bludgeoning our young. Anyway, the high-pitched beams of Nightmare Fuel take this track to another level. It's unhinged, it's hysterical, certifiably schizophrenic, impractically preposterous, irrationally bizarre, falsifiably degenerate, immoral and corrupt, full of paranoia and a complete fucking frenzy. I really enjoyed it.
Track 6. Track 6. Track 6.
I gotta be honest. The first time I listened to track 6, I thought, this probably isn't the kind of music for driving down a country highway with one arm out the window in a singlet while the sun is shining. And well, it probably still isn't. But after a couple of listens under the influence of every substance I could find, 2 lobotomies, 6 months of therapy, the destruction of all of my interpersonal relationships, and a week of pure isolation in the dark room under the stairs, I gotta say, starts to make a lot more sense to me. There is an almost never-ending discovery of intricacies and puzzle-like details inside of this track just sitting there, waiting to be touched and figured out. Track 7's full of insanity and depravity. Oh, the humanity! It belongs on the north shore of Arkham, at the foothills of the Mountains of Madness, Epstein's Island, the Hyperborean Circuit, or the basement of a Comet Pizza in Washington, D.C. It's an aberration of slimy, tentacular debauchery. It leaves me in disgust with the taste of iron and cum in the back of my throat, causes my ears to bleed, leaves my knees raw and bloody, and gives me an insatiable hunger for the bone marrow of children. Guess I gotta find me a Comet Pizza in Washington, D.C. The final break's vocal samples just gotta be listened to.
I'll tell you something of the forbidden horrors she led me into. Something of the age-old horrors that even now are festering in out-of-the-way corners with a few monstrous reasons to keep them alive.
Sounds like, my ex-girlfriend. I don't know what's going on. Track 8. I mean, I don't know what to say about this track. It's just kind of perverted. That background noise and the melody, I guess you could call it that, although there's got to be a better word for it. They were like terrors that scraped their unbrushed 4 million-year-old bacteria-filled teeth over just the right itch in my mind. Truly despicable, and yet truly enjoyable. This part of the album is bringing in more of Jerome's Gold influence, not shying away from the louder, more upfront and confident melodies. Now that's not to say that the confidence of the melody is making me any more confident. No. My anxiety is still spiking, my blood pressure is still at an all-time high, I'm irritable, I'm scratchy, in a state of consistent mental agony, on the verge of a nervous fucking breakdown, and it's this wretched fucking fuckers goddamn fault! Track 9 addresses a tough topic like suicide and puts out one hell of an argument against it. I like arguments. Normally, people share bad ones. Other people. Not me. And not this vocal sample. There's a funky trance rhythm in there somewhere if you're brave enough to still be here listening. I'm brave enough. Mother said that I was brave enough. And he couldn't help himself but wrap us in a straight jacket of raw melody. Kind of a nice way to finish the album, actually. Not exactly leaving things on a positive note, but on a relatively more positive note than the sickening monstrosities of introspective anguish that came before it. Well, I guess I'm gonna go on living. There is an industrial grinding of the gears. How industrious. And a wet sliming of sludge, dripping with what could be the high-pitched mating calls of the Shoggoths, rhythmically squirming through it all. Say what you will about the devastating mass of agonizingly dark trance this sweet man who shares cat memes on Facebook has created, but don't you dare say that this track isn't utterly entrancing and completely hypnotizing. You might not find a lot of beauty here in the traditional sense, but in case you haven't been paying attention, traditional beauty standards are out the fucking window, and it's open fucking slather for whatever the fuck we want to call beautiful. You're not going to be covered in bright glittering colours, and you're not going to fly through pretty and amazing nebulas. It's dark, grey, isolating, shrouded in shadows, and slightly terrifying. This man on the internet does not recommend playing it for your nice, pleasant friends at a party. You want to find people you don't like, or people who, like you, can dive into a world of shockingly deep, introspective, faceless terrors. But that doesn't mean that Proxeeus couldn't help himself but to put some playful rhythms and sweet goa-esque sounds throughout the album. The vocal samples work fantastically well, and if you don't get a big lead screaming at you above the other layers, then you find one buried deep behind the other elements, wisping by like smoke, much in the same way that some traditional neo-goa does it. But this is much darker, psychotic, and substantially less euphoric. Yet an absolute standout of an album and production. Proxeeus is known for his skill and precision in his track making. I say so. And I think this might be the most skilled piece of work he's pulled off yet. All that being said, I don't really know what Proxeeus wants to achieve with this album. It's probably one of two things. Either he wants to explore the inner workings of humanity's often ignored and malaligned tendencies and personalities so that they can be understood and come to terms with. Respectable. Or maybe he wants us to call him Daddy. Is that what he wants? Us calling him Daddy while he puts a leather spiked choker around our necks and demand that we get on all fours to be led around the house as he scolds us like animals for urinating on the furniture, as he rips the last of our humanity and love away from us by making us lick his feet while he fucks us with the black dick of darkness so that there's nothing left of ourselves but the eternal pain of loathe and despise that no matter how hard we try find it impossible to control, with the best we can hope for to simply ignore them. But now we can't even do that, because those traits are all that we have left of ourselves, and we can't do anything about it, because Daddy has our tongue between his toes and this fucking choker on our necks! That one. It was probably that one.